He's got a sprained toe. He's continuing to be evaluated. Some of it is, what the doctors say, and then some of it is just how he's feeling. He's feeling better. We got some good news this week in terms of, possibility of him being able to play hopefully soon. But his status is day to day. So, we practiced yesterday. He didn't practice. But, his status could change any day.
So is this a deal where he could wake up tomorrow and want to try?
Yeah, it's possible. It could change. Status could change in a given day. I'm hopeful that he's going to be able to play for us at some point. But obviously, when he's not practicing as of yesterday, you prepare, with the guys that are healthy.
Is it a pain thing? Is it a discomfort thing? Like, what bothers him, whether it's running or maybe it's just walking around? Yeah,
it's a pain issue, and also we send him to see another specialist just to. Obviously, one of the things we have to factor in for him is long-term health. But coming off of that appointment, there was there's pretty good optimism that he may be able to play later at some point. But he's got to be at the point where he's feeling less pain than he was earlier in the week in order to play.
What's the number one thing you'll have to do in the rematch against West Virginia versus what happened the first time? Just number one you want to fix or address?
Well, I think number one is playing with a level of poise throughout the game. I thought that we started the game the first 13 minutes or so playing with really good poise and aggressiveness. And then West Virginia does a great job of making runs at some point, in the first half. And they were able to close the half really, really strong. And I think we were down 12 at the half. And we started that second half pretty well, again, with a level of poise and aggressiveness. We cut the lead down, I think, to 8, but then the game really, really got away from us from there. As it relates to basketball-specific stuff, valuing the ball, valuing possessions, rebounding is huge. Those two factors are big for them offensively because they score a lot off of times when teams don't value the ball, and then they also score a lot off of second, third chance opportunities. So I believe in our game they had 44, 45 points if you add those two types of baskets together.
Do you show your guys the previous matchup from the standpoint of it seems like when you guys made them play offense in the half court, you had some success? I mean, is that something you try to hammer home that, hey, you guys did a good job in the half court? Yeah,
I think, you show them not just that, but other times where we've played them or times where teams have had success against them. Because the biggest thing for our guys is understanding the formula that's going to go into us being successful. And then the challenge from there is being able to honor that formula on a play-in, play-out basis, every single time down the floor. And again, West Virginia does a great job, as good as anyone, at things are, you're playing pretty well, you're playing with poise, and then boom, a 2, 3, 4 minute stretch where they're really able to go on a run. And a lot of times that can be the difference in the game.
The last two games with Mo out, it looks like Jericho has really kind of stepped up and become more aggressive and more engaged, especially demanding the ball and stuff like that. Is it kind of starting to click a little bit for him, or is this something you kind of need to stay on him and be like, do this, this is really working?
Well, I mean, he's just scratching the tip, of what he's going to be able to do. He's learning. I think, when you're talking about freshmen, sometimes it's a matter of opportunity. He's had a good amount of opportunity, his freshman year, but it's a whole different story when Mo's not in there. Now you need him in there 30-some minutes a game, and I think that he's really embraced that. I like the way that he attacked things. I thought James came in and gave us good minutes against Kansas when he played. So we're going to need those two, at that 5 position with Mo out, as long as Mo is out, to really step forward.
Final regular season game, do you approach your message to the guys from the standpoint of, hey, we could really, really, really help ourselves if we win this game?
Yes, I mean, we've talked about the ramifications of the game, and again, we talked about this a little bit before. You have to strike the balance as a player between the extreme sense of urgency that that we should and will have going into the game and how important it is, and also being able to play, as we say, aggressive, confident, and loose. Because if you approach every single play as a situation where I don't want to mess up, I don't want to make a mistake, then we've certainly seen with these guys in the past that doesn't work. You got to play with a level of poise and calmness to you that you can go out and attack it. And also you have to be confident. And there's different types of plays. Dustin, there's situations where you have 100% control, like being in the right position on defense. Our guys need to be on edge with that kind of stuff. I mean, with that kind of stuff, you have full control, so that's the approach you take. But when you jump up and shoot the ball, it's more about being on edge to follow the right process and shoot it with confidence.
How would you grade Matt the last few games?
Last few games.
Of all the guys that you kind of really need to step up, how
well,
has he done?
I think in the Kansas game, thought he did some good things. He shot the ball better. He was saddled a little bit with foul trouble, which I thought he played really good defense. On some of those possessions, but if the officials are calling the game a certain way, you have to adjust. He's got a lot on his plate. Before that, Oklahoma State, I thought he did some really good things in the game in terms of keeping us connected as a group when things weren't going great for us, particularly on the offensive end. But the thing about Matt is he's at his best when he's got a great blend of confidence and humility. And he's always been a guy his whole life that's had great confidence and has felt like, he's better than anyone, when he was coming up. And that's one of the things that we love about him. But you also have to understand in this league, especially when you're playing against a Javon Carter or, a Keenan Evans or someone like that, hey, this guy's older than me. He might be stronger than me. He certainly has more experience than me. He's a little more savvy than me. So I got to find a way to make up for that in other ways. And I think when he's had that at the front of his mind, he's been really good.
I think it was Kansas shot like 66 or 67% from inside the arc. And obviously not having Mo plays a huge part in that, but what can the team kind of do to sort of, I guess, make up for his absence?
Yeah.
Obviously you can't replicate Mo.
Well, that's a great point, Nick. I think, on defense, there's two things you got to do, and this is against West Virginia as important as probably anything is. It's a two-step process. You have to make a miss, and then you got to grab the ball. If you don't make a miss, they score. If you make a miss but you don't grab the ball, they have a chance to score on the second or third shot. So obviously, when Mo is out there for us, it changes things in terms of making people miss inside the three, to your point. But if he's out, then we've got to do a better job of playing one-on-one defense on the perimeter. We've got to do a better job of giving our teammate what we call appropriate help. So that's no more help than you should give, but no less. And then making sure that we really try to contest every shot we possibly can. And then again, against West Virginia, that's only half the battle, because if you make a miss, you got to, as a team, as a group of five, you got to go grab that ball.
Senior day with coming up, and what can you say about Isaiah and Joe and Ryan and what they've meant to the program?
Those guys have been awesome. They're obviously in the role that they're in, you really have to have a selfless approach, and those guys have been phenomenal with that. With Joe and Ryan, those guys have been here longer than any of us, and they take a lot of pride in the program. They take a lot of pride in the relationships that they've built here, and we're going to be sad to see those guys, all three of them, going to be sad to see them move on.
Did you know that Joe was the mayor of Waco? Did you know that he held such sway in certain parts of the state?
Joe's really well liked, so it wouldn't surprise me. But he's a great kid, and again, to be a walk-on, it takes a really, really unique type of person, because you're really sacrificing a lot more than you're getting in some ways. But those guys have been phenomenal.
assuming no status change with Eric, have you guys talked at all more with the NCAA? Have you had conversations with
our
UT?
compliance staff is continuing to work with Eric and the NCAA on that. Eric can't really talk to us about it, nor have we tried to pry and ask about it. So his status is still where it's been, but we're hopeful that it can move towards a resolution for him.
And I don't know how much you could say about this, but other players have been cleared. Other coaches have already been cleared. Why is your guy still out?
Well, I think because they're still figuring out exactly what happened. And, I think for the NCAA, there's a lot going on right now, and they have to figure out what they want to do moving forward with this type of stuff. I can't really speak to situations at other schools. I know at Texas we've got a terrific compliance office. They're very diligent, and obviously at a place like this, as a school, we take a lot of pride in looking into things and making sure that we do the right thing. So we just have to wait until that gets resolved. I'm hopeful that it'll be resolved relatively soon, but I don't know exactly when that's going to be.
Okay.
You touched on it a little bit already, but just how do you make sure that the guys, they're able to strike that balance of knowing that this is a really important game for NCAA tournament hopes, but then also being able to still play free and get the job done?
Well, it's one of those things where it's a collective thing. It's also an individual thing. And so we try to spend a lot of time with guys individually over these last few days. We haven't played since Monday, so we've had some time to spend together and just trying to help them be the best version of themselves and help them create a mindset that will go into them being their best. The thing about it is the mindset that matters most is, in about 22 hours when that ball goes up in the air. So we're working through, in practice, the way they need to approach it. We'll have our scouting meetings tonight. We'll get with these guys again in the morning. But, it's really right before we go out on the court, being able to, hopefully all of our guys look each other in the eye and, come together around one cause. I mean, if there was ever a game where there's a big, strong, powerful why, and we've been in a lot of those games, but if there was ever a game like that, it's tomorrow.
Do you ever have to give Jacob Young a pregame pep talk, or does he just play on fire from his own nature?
He doesn't need pep talks really from a motivation standpoint. He just needs direction sometimes, just in terms of where to focus. And he's got a great spirit about him, and he wants to win, and he cares about his teammates. He cares about Texas. But again, he's a guy that, I think since he got here, he's learned a lot of lessons. He's gained some maturity. He's not all the way there yet. I think he's done a nice job in our last couple of games stepping into a larger role. And, we're going to need that, obviously, from him tomorrow.
2 3 last ones. When you look at him and kind of almost, it's not reckless abandon, I know that's not what you want, but the way he kind of plays, does that free up the other guys to just feel confident and let it loose, kind of maybe what you want in these situations?
Well, I think Jacob can have a big effect on his teammates when he is focused outside of himself. Sometimes he gets a little sideways in his own mind because something didn't go a certain way, or he was upset about a play or a call or whatever it may be. And the thing that I've tried to help him understand is we don't got time for that. We have to stay focused on the process and each other. And when he does that, he's really one of our best guys from the standpoint of being contagious with good energy.
I know you emphasized this a couple of weeks ago, but this week, considering who's out, how much have you been harping we got to the team?
Yeah, I mean, it's I think this time of year that always needs to be an emphasis. But, this year has been as unique a year as I've, been a part of in terms of just different things that have, happened to the team or, different twists and turns. And the reality is tomorrow, our guys will put on a Texas uniform and there'll be 5 of them out there on the court. And our ability to come together around one common cause and understand what we have to do and how we have to go about it, that's going to determine how well we play. And then there's another team that wants to win really bad too. So no question, it's about being so closely connected that your willingness to focus on just the task at hand is through the roof. And I know that sounds simple and basic and it should be automatic, but I would say for 99.9% of teams, it's not always a given. It's not always automatic, and certainly for ours. So tomorrow we have the best chance to win if the stuff that goes into winning is all that matters to us.
Obviously, good news over the weekend. Andrew's out of the hospital.
Yep.
And I know you're not much of a Twitter guy, obviously, but he's posting on Twitter a lot of him just, getting shots up. And
I saw,
being active.
yeah.
I mean,
I'm not a Twitter guy, but I try to stay updated on what Andrew's doing on Twitter.
That's a good approach.
But, what's it
Yes.
been like for you guys to see him fight this thing so hard?
It's been great. I mean, Andrew's got a fighting spirit, and Andrew, I said this, right when the diagnosis came public. I mean, he loves basketball as much as anyone in our program, anyone that I've been around. So he has that motivation in him to get all the way back to full health so that he can play. And while he's going through this process, anything he can do that is related to his passion for the game, whether it's working out in the weight room, whether it's getting shots up, whether it's shooting on a mini hoop in his room, that just allows him to stay connected with that. So it's awesome. I'm just so glad that his treatment is going well, and I hope that continues and that he's able to make a full recovery, because that would be really, of all the things that we've talked about this year and all the things we've dealt with, that would be the most important. That would be at the top of the list.